Hello, everybody. My name is Guy Stewart, and we're joined today with Lucian, the sales manager for Eastern Europe. Special presentation today. This brings together two of the things I really love about Victron. One is that we have this amazing ecosystem of products. And the second one is that it brings together these people who have these amazing ideas and gives them opportunities to explore them. Lucian will give a bit of background on where he's coming from with this product. If you didn't already know, the EVCS is a very special product in Victron's product range because Lucian himself was the creator and originator. So we're very lucky to be able to speak to him because if anyone knows anything about this product, it's going to be him. He's going to give a bit of a background on where the product came from, where it's at today, and then also where it's going into the future.
Thanks, Guy. Let's begin. Topics for today. The first one is the history of the product and how this idea started. Then we will discuss the EVCS models that we are selling now. Then some recommendation for correctly installing the products and some tips and tricks. Then how to set up the EVCS and how to update it. Then we will discuss system types. So you can use the EVCS in different configuration. I have some examples for that. Then, of course, that's something that we were discussing now. Extra settings that you can configure over Modbus, but also controlling the EVCS from different platforms like Node-RED, Home Assistant, and so on. How you can easily sell the EVCS, what are the advantages of this product compared with other products from the market. And then some news on both hardware and software side. At the end, we can discuss all the questions that you have. Maybe also during or at the end of each topic, we can stop a bit and have some questions. What do you think? I think it's better than wait until the end.
If you have a specific question regarding the topic that's just been discussed by Lucian, then please feel free. Get our attention by raising your hand or speaking in the chat. We'll watch the chat as well, and we can discuss it in the moment while it's relevant.
Okay. Then, how it all started. This is the product history. Long time ago, when I was not working for Victron, I made my first conversion from a classical vehicle to an electric one. It was just because it was some passion for electric vehicles. There is a link you can access on our blog area. You can see the story. It was entirely made with Victron products. As you can see, batteries, inverter, charger was used for charging the batteries. Everything was Victron in there. Then the next step was designing the first model. I was not working for Victron back then. On the left picture, that was my CNC machine that was using for making my own PCBs. Then in the middle was the first model, metallic case. On the right side, that's the first 3D printed charging station produced as a prototype when we started in Victron. So that was 5 years ago. At the beginning, we started very slowly because it was a new range of products for us. It was not something that we were usually doing. And it took us a while to understand the market, to see what's needed for the market, to make it part of our ecosystem. But now I think it's a major product and we are happy with the sales and the products that we are selling. We already have 2 models. I'm not sure if there are any questions until now because we're switching to the next topic. Guy, do you see something that we should answer?
I think so far, so good.
So far, so good. We have 2 models. The one on the left is the model with a better looking design. We are selling it in 3 colors. Initially, when you are buying it, it's blue. So it has a blue front cover. But you can order external covers, white and black, so we can fit different type of, depending on the color of your house or where it is located, you can choose the right color that fits that area. Both versions are sharing the same internal components. On both of them, you have the same specifications. Both can do 22 kilowatt, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth inside. Both can charge automatic mode, manual mode, schedule mode. So there are no hardware differences, except on the one on the right side, we have the screen that can be used for both monitoring and controlling the basic functionality like start, stop, change the current, change the mode. Okay, we are moving to the next topic, installation recommendations. In some countries, RCD is not mandatory, but for most of them, RCD is mandatory, but there are different regulations for each country. So my recommendation is to check the regulation for your country and choose the right RCD if needed. For example, if you are planning to charge with 22 kilowatt, you should do that's 32 amps. You should choose probably a 40 amps RCD type B. That's the recommended type. But of course, also check the regulation. Then the second point, make sure the ground connection for the EVCS is good, because all the measurements are made in reference to that ground connection. If that ground connection is not okay, then the measured value for the communication line is not going to work correctly. Also, the voltage that are measured will be incorrect, and lots of errors are coming from this reason. Then the third point, make sure the cables powering the charging station are correctly sized based on load and length. If your vehicle is charging with only, let's say, 11 kilowatt, then you shouldn't go with a cross section that big. My recommendation is 6 square millimeters. Make sure you are choosing the right cable before using the charging station. That's very important to prevent risks of fire and other type of issues. Also, make sure that the cable that you are choosing between the charging station and the vehicle is the right type for your vehicle or for this charging station, because as you can see on the right side here, this is a picture from charging cable. As you can see, it's able to handle maximum 3.6 kilowatt. It's one phase plus neutral plus PE. I saw on the community multiple complaints that the charging station is not charging three-phase. Most of them were because the cable that was used. When you're buying the cable, or if the vehicle comes with a cable, make sure the vehicle should be able to charge three-phase. But the cable must be three-phase capable. It should handle all the current you are planning to charge with. This one, as you can see, is charging can be used up to maximum 15 amps. Inside the cables on both sides, actually inside the connectors on both sides of the cable, there are resistors that are measured by both the charging station and the vehicle. And based on the value of those resistors, the charging station and the vehicle knows exactly what are the maximum capabilities of all the products from that system. So if one of the system is limiting, then of course the maximum power will be limited by that value. In this case, as you can see, it's 15 amps. And also it is limited to one phase, and that's it. If you have a system that contains a GX device, so you want to control the charging station remotely, you want to have, I don't know, automatic mode and so on, make sure that both charging station and the GX device are part of the same Ethernet network. You can have communication both ways from the charging station to the GX and the opposite. Otherwise, I also saw in the community some complaints that only the charging station can get data from the GX or the opposite. So make sure both of them are visible between them by being in the same network. Then another issue that I saw was unstable link between the charging station and the router. Of course, the charging station is installed outside, so make sure the router, the Wi-Fi router or device providing internet access to the charging station, make sure it's close enough so the charging station has enough signals. Yeah, the communication is stable. Then the next topic is CP calibration. CP is the communication line between the charging station and the vehicle. And we have a calibration procedure. You can find it in the manual. It's important to do this if you are changing a cable, or during the initial setup, make sure you are doing this CP calibration. What the charging station is doing, it's measuring the voltage with the vehicle connected. So you have to do it with the vehicle connected. It's measuring the voltage of the communication line, and it's calibrating that voltage. The communication works correctly. You should do it again if you are changing the cable to a longer one, or different type or different brand, because the resistance of all the components in the cables can be different and the measured voltage might be different between them. You might see different behaviors, like the charging station will not correctly detect when the vehicle is connected, or it will say charged without the vehicle being charged, and so on. It is described in the manuals. Make sure you are also following this important step. Another issue that I saw on the community was relay closing and opening at the end of the charging process. This is happening because some vehicles are trying to keep the battery completely charged. If the vehicle has some consumers that are reducing the battery's SOC, the vehicle will ask the charging station over and over to charge, disconnect, charge, disconnect, and so on. So to prevent this, we have a menu called keep relay active when vehicle is charged. And when enable this, the relay, of course, will stay closed and it will continuously power the vehicle without being necessary to start and stop over and over. Another topic that I saw it was discussed a lot on the community was the minimum charging current. As you can see, not all vehicles can charge with the minimum charging current supported by the communication protocol. That's 6 amps. There are some vehicles that are unable to do that. One example is from Renault Zoe. So for that one, the minimum current is 10 amps. Even so, at 10 amps, if you look at the charging power, the energy that goes into the batteries and compare it with the energy that is coming from the grid, you're going to see that it's a huge difference between them because it's not very efficient. It's recommended to charge with higher currents on some vehicles. Renault Zoe, it's one of them. So if you are defining the minimum current as 6 amps on a vehicle like that, you're going to see some strange behavior on the charging station. It will say that it's charging with, I don't know, some power, 1.8 kilowatt, but the vehicle is not really charging. Make sure you are correctly defining the minimum charging current. The recommended cross section, if you want to charge with maximum current, it's 6 square millimeters, but of course, it depends on how long the cable is. These are my recommendations. Questions here?
Right. I'll start from the top and work through quite a lot of them. I won't go through all of them because some of them we're going to refer to at the end. People asking about the future stuff.
Yep.
So the first one was, do these have a V direct connection to the Servo GX?
Direct connection to Servo GX. We have a V direct port on the PCB, but it is not configured as V direct. We thought initially to use it, but usually the charging station stays very far from the GX device, and the maximum cable length for V direct is, if I'm not wrong, 5 meters, and most of the time the difference is higher.
A question: how many ohms is a good ground? There was an answer from the chat saying that less than 4 ohms is according to EU regulations, but recommended to be as low as possible.
Yeah, it's recommended to stay lower than the regulation for that country. When you are consuming a lot, you might see that the voltage of the ground is not going to be zero anymore. That's the first moment you should think about the quality of the ground installation. Make sure it's correctly measured, and usually you should use, there are some devices that are doing the certification for ground connection. So make sure your ground is correctly made and certified.
Can the charging station be connected to 60 hertz, 230 volts, L1, L2, neutral, PE? That's 2-phase.
Shouldn't be an issue, yes. As long as we have neutral, it should work, yes. And of course, 230 volts.
How do you plan to mitigate that the charger doesn't know how to switch between 1-phase charging to 3-phase charging automatically? It only has a 3-phase connector, but saw a port that might accommodate a 1-phase contactor.
There is
the story.
Yeah, the contactor inside, it's a 3-phase one. Actually, it's a 4-pole contactor that it's connecting it's connecting all 3 phases and neutral. Yeah, you're going to see it at the end of the presentation. Is part of what's coming. The current charging station can't do this. If you look on the community, there are some examples of how you can do it. Basically, the board inside the charging station can do it, but there is only one contactor. So if you want to do it, you have to replace that contactor with 2 contactors, one doing phase 1, neutral and phase 1, and the other one doing phase 2 and 3. But it's a do-it-yourself thing, and we're not supporting that. So if you want to do it, there are lots of discussions in there. I gave some details about how you can do it. The software is prepared more or less for that. But again, we are not supporting it because we didn't spend a lot of time with it. It was just a test to see how the vehicles are behaving and to prepare for the next generation. Guy, any other questions?
Guy just checked out. He has to reconnect.
Okay. Can you help me, Bob?
Sure. There are some questions about future topics, like the integration of the phase switching RFID In most cases, I referred to that you were going to discuss this later in the presentation.
If we have some other questions regarding the topics that we've already...
Is it possible to integrate a Bluetooth auto start function, Victron Connect app, when you are in the Bluetooth range with your phone, the auto start function is enabled and the car is starting to charge?
Yeah, it's on our to-do list. Very good question. We are playing with it, and we should have it available. I'm not sure how fast, but that's on our to-do list. Yes.
Okay.
Even for the watches. So even for the watches that have VRM enabled, it should work one day.
There is a question, what happens if you have two different cars and separate cable for each? Does this mean that you have to have two EV charging stations?
It's about calibration, probably. Basically, if the cables are identical as length, it shouldn't be an issue. But brands of cable, and when connected, the measured values are a bit different. So I don't know, you have to try. I think the easiest solution would be to, instead of removing the cable from the EVCS all the time, just to buy one cable that stays connected into the charging station forever and use it for both vehicles. I think it's easier.
Why does it start with 6 amp as a start current? Tesla EG starts with 5.
Because Tesla supports 5. That's the answer. Our charger is not only for Tesla vehicle, it's for all the brands.
Okay.
Tesla is not using the public communication protocol. They have their own protocol. It's a digital one. It's a real communication protocol. They are using CAN bus over one wire. It's called something like this. And it can tell the vehicle charge with only 5 amps. And also the charging modules inside the Tesla are more efficient and can do 5 amps without losing a lot of power.
Okay. A similar question came on. The question was that if we could reduce the minimum of 6 amps, but I guess in real life, there are no cars except for the Tesla, which you just mentioned, that can charge with less than 6 amps.
Yep.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We'll try to answer them live.
Okay. Then let's discuss a bit about the initial software setup. Some things that are not very clear from the manuals. On the label of the charging station, we have only one password. That password is the same for both connecting to the access point of the charging station and also for connecting to the web interface of the charging station. The user is admin and the password is the same for both. So the password you see on the label is the same for both Wi-Fi and web interface. Then during initial setup, if the charging station is updated to the latest firmware, we have some countries that you can select, and we are starting to add different functionalities for some of these countries. We have probably all the countries in the world as in that list, but only for few of them we have specific functionalities. For example, in UK, if you select UK, the charging station, it looks for a sensor for detecting intrusion into the charging station. That's a regulation there. So if somebody opens the charging station, it's mandatory for the system to receive an alarm that the charging station was opened. And there is another thing that it's coming for Germany. So that's for you, Bob. We are adding into the country code for Germany 2 things. One is limiting the initial current, the maximum charging current to 16 amps. As far as I know, that's the maximum accepted in Germany now. And the second thing, it enables one of the inputs on the board of the charging station to be used for the grid operator to limit the charging station to minimum current when is necessary. So when the grid operator decided that too many charging stations are charging, they will send a signal to all the charging stations, and the charging station will reduce the power to the minimum possible. For most of the vehicle, that's 6 amps. If your vehicle cannot do 6 amps, it's going to be 10. And of course, there are some other regulations for France and some other countries. We will slowly add specific things for each country if it's necessary. Another important thing, make sure your system is able to handle the maximum current. I don't know if your grid connection, let's say it's maximum 25 amps, but you have also some other consumers in there. Make sure you are not configuring your charging station to charge with, I don't know, 32, because you are probably gonna have your fuse that powers the whole house or system blown or tripped. So yeah, the installer make sure the charging station is not passing the maximum current available. Regarding the update, for now it is possible to do it over the web page of the device. You can download from Victron Professional, you can download the firmware, the latest one, and upload it to the web page of the device and press update, and basically that's it. If the charging station is already connected to the same network with the GX device, you can also do it through VRM. If you go to device list and press on firmware update, it should check what's the current version. The VRM will check if there are other versions available. Just by pressing update, the GX will push the right firmware into the charging station. Soon we will add the update directly over internet. So that's going to be a new menu. If the charging station is standalone but connected to the internet, or if you are, I don't know, making a hotspot on your phone and connecting the charging station to that hotspot, the charging station can download firmware automatically and update it when you are pressing update. One of the questions, I'm not sure if it's already asked, why we are not doing firmware update over Victron Connect. Unfortunately, the firmware, especially for the charging station with screen, it's pretty big. It's almost 4 megabytes. Pushing that firmware over Bluetooth with all the checkings, it's gonna take something like, I don't know, 6 minutes, if I remember correctly from our test. I don't think that's a good idea. It takes way too long. We have some plans for doing this over Bluetooth, maybe pushing the firmware over Wi-Fi and continuing the communication with Victron Connect over Bluetooth somehow. The problem is there are so many models for phones. I'm talking more about Android now, so we will have to test the behavior for all of them. I think it's better to avoid things like this. But we shall see. If we find a way to do it over Victron Connect, we're going to do it later. Questions here? Bob or Guy?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I got disconnected there. There's
No
a big
problem.
storm came through. We have questions. So there's quite a few open in the Q&A. Bob's also been answering questions in Q&A. So the first one, is the EV charge compatible with OCP?
It might be. We've did some tests for OCPP, is not officially supported. We can add it. Do you think this is going to be important for you? Initially, the charging station was designed more for home installation, not for public installation. OCPP is more for that kind of installation. So I'm not sure.
Few comments saying yes, please, add it. This one's specifically related to software setup. Do they need to save their settings before updating through VRM from firmware?
No, all the settings are saved.
Will certificates for compliance with specific country requirements, e.g. intrusion, grid operator control, be made available?
If you can provide more details, because I'm not in contact with distributors from other countries, if you can communicate with the sales managers from those areas and they can then send me the requirements for each country, then we can, of course, look into that.
One bit of feedback about OCPP was that it's very important for users to be able to charge their employers. So it's some kind of generating, I don't know what that means exactly.
Charge their employers. But you can see that information in VRM. Isn't that enough? Why do you need OCPP for that? Probably what you need is the NFC for allowing each charging station to be identified. Probably this is what you need, correct? I don't see the questions, but
it connects to billing and refunding platforms. So I guess it has integrations. Another comment from OCPP was that someone has installations in hotels and it's required for integration. Small to medium business clients want it so they can install multiple EVCSs into their parking lots. Rather than read them all out, keep typing your comments and we'll make sure Lucian gets to see them so he can balance the development time and effort. We'll move on to another question. Yeah. Is it possible to stop charging at a state of charge specifically for EV charging in ESS mode without affecting other SOC limits for the entire system? E.g., allow the EV to stop charging at state of charge only in off-grid mode.
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Yeah. So at the moment, they say stop at SOC only works in off-grid mode, not in ESS mode. And they want to have a separate state of charge where they stop charging when the system's in ESS mode, but just for the EV, not for the rest of ESS.
No, it's not possible now, at least not with the functionality that it's included into the software of the EVCS. But we will discuss later about integrations. You can do anything you want with Node-RED or any other platform. You can create your own setup that stops the charger when, I don't know, the backup battery is, let's say, below 60% to disconnect the charging station. You can easily do that in Node-RED if you want.
Mhm.
My recommendation, if you don't know how to do it, you can start a thread on the community, and there are lots of skillful colleagues there that can help you with it.
Okay, cool.
Any other question?
Yeah, but perhaps we should move forward. I think you'll cover some of them in your other things. So
Yeah.
we'll wait for a few more to load up.
Yeah, let's discuss restoring the unit to the default values. You can do this on the software from Victron Connect. We have a restore default button there. You can do it from the web page of the device. We have a button there. If you don't remember the password for the web page, you can still connect with Victron Connect. If you remember the PIN code, actually the phone remembers the password. So you can still do it from Victron Connect. This is an advantage that you have two ways to connect to the charging station. So if you forget one, you can still fix it from the other. But let's say that you don't know any of them, then there is a default button inside the charging station. I have a PCB here, and it's somewhere in this area. This button,
That's clear.
you can press that default button, and there are two restore modes. If you keep the button pressed between 5 and 15 seconds, it will restore the admin password and the Bluetooth PIN code to the default values. If you press longer than 15 seconds, it will restore all parameters. Check the manuals. The LED ring around the charging port will have different effects when you are doing partial reset compared with full reset. So you're going to see a different light effect. Something also related with restore min and Bluetooth PIN code. There were some questions from users that don't have access to the label of the charging station, or it was lost. If you don't have them, you can send an email to us, and we can give you the default initial password for access point and Bluetooth PIN code. Yep. So use the form that we have on our website, and we can help you with that. Always remember that inside the charging station there is a label. I don't think that one can be, I don't know, you can lose it somehow. It's sticked inside the charging station. So that's always a good method to find them. Okay, how you are getting support? Also related with what I was telling a few moments ago. We have the manual on both web and PDF version. Then on a community, there are lots of discussions about the EV charging station. If you are creating a new topic, make sure you are using the EVCS tag or EV charging station. And by doing so, I'm going to receive an email that you need some help for the EV charging station. Then the first line of support is always the installer or the distributor that it's providing the equipment. They should be able to do. If they are not, they can always contact us, and we can help them. Some of you are already aware there was a screen issue for the screen version of the charging station. I can tell you in few words what was the problem. Some of the screens we are using are consuming, the backlight is consuming more than the other, and the difference is huge. The difference can be 2 times on some of them compared with the others. The driver that is powering the screen was not prepared for such a big consumption. Initially, we didn't see it. Because of this, the communication is unstable between the screen and the main board. It's creating all kinds of strange behaviors. The screen is continuously restarting, blinking, or you see data error on the screen, or you see strange values overlapping. The solution is pretty simple. We've designed an extra driver that is powered from a different connector and can handle more current. The problem is solved. To obtain the driver, if you're a distributor, you just have to create an RMA and order the spare parts. If you don't have contact directly with us, discuss with your distributor and they know exactly what to do next. It's pretty simple. Installation is also simple. You don't have to remove the charging station from the wall. You just have to open it and plug driver into the ports and put the screen connector back. and that's it. Questions here?
Can they modify the default screensaver screen? Yeah, they make a custom screensaver.
That's a good question. The screen is working with bitmaps. It is not a normal screen. We can modify the text on the screen, but not the logo. The text displaying when the charging station is not used, we can do something about it. If there are multiple requests about this, yeah, we can easily do that.
Were the serial numbers for the units with the problem screens available so people can see if their units are
Oh, it's
connected or-
completely
Right.
we don't know exactly which one are behaving like this. So screensaver. Okay,
I also have a question.
Yep.
Is it possible to charge the EV before PV energy goes into the stationary battery?
explain a bit.
This was the question, so I don't have more information.
Yeah. So can you set the to be EV priority? So if you've got an empty battery, but the sun comes up, can it charge the car first before it attempts to charge the battery?
So in automatic mode, you can configure starting SOC. When the backup battery SOC is higher than a certain value, let's say 50%, it will start charging with priority to the vehicle. It will still charge the backup battery. The default charging power for the backup battery, if I remember correctly, it's 500 watts. So it will still continue to charge the backup battery, but the priority will be the vehicle. If you are not happy with those 500 watts, you can modify it, but not from the main interface. You have to do it from over Modbus TCP.
Do you want more questions or to move forward?
Yeah, we can have more questions.
This one I don't really understand, but a few people gave it thumbs up. So I'll read it verbatim. We'll see if you can make sense. Will Victron in the future make an interface to communicate between the EV charging station and the multi-plus or quattro? They want to create a boat and a trailer with 1-phase or 3-phase to charge lithium batteries at 7.4 or 22 kilowatts.
But the charging station, it's already getting data from the multi-pluses through the GX device. So what else do you need?
If you need anything else, Jonathan, let us know.
Maybe you can unmute him if he wants to say something.
Does Victron plan to have an AC to DC EV charger with 30 kilowatts?
We are looking into this, but it's not going to happen soon.
No.
All these conversions from AC to DC are a bit expensive, and I'm not sure how many will pay for something like this. The price is going to be more than 10 times higher compared with an AC charging station.
So there was a question that came up earlier that I now remember. Someone said they've got 2 GX devices connected to their system, and the EV charging station shows up on both systems. What do we do for that situation?
Yeah, in the settings of the charging station, you have a menu called whitelist, and you can add the IP address of the EV, of the GX device that you want to be able to communicate with the charging station. Add only that one in there, enable the whitelist, and you should see it.
There's also a setting on the GX device side, or is that not relevant?
The GX devices are automatically searching for charging stations and display them. It's the same as with Fronius PV inverters. If you have a Fronius PV inverter and you enable communication on that Fronius inverter, it will be detected.
It'll find it.
Charging station.
Hey, is there a limit to how many chargers you can have on the same GX device?
It's more related to the capabilities of that GX device and how many other devices are already connected. It's a limitation on the CPU power. We've simulated on a clean Serbo GX with 100 charging stations, and it was working without an issue. I saw systems with 20 charging stations, Fronius PV, and lots of MPPTs, and it was working. For a normal installation, you can go up to 20 charging stations easily.
Should we move forward? If there's more questions, we can get back to them.
Okay. Okay. Let's move to system types. This is the most basic system. We have only one EV charging station connected directly to the grid. You can connect to the charging station over Bluetooth or Wi-Fi and connect the vehicle. You can still charge manually with different modifying the current manually. You can start, stop. You can create scheduled programs. Yeah, that's it. You cannot access it remotely because it's not communicating with VRM. the communication with VRM is happening through the GX device. So you can control it locally. You can do it remotely if you configure your router and create an open port for the charging station, but that's more for technical guys. Then the next method or the next system type is to GX added and also a meter. And this gives you more functionality. By doing so, you can access the charging station remotely. The charging station can protect the system for overload detection because we have the meter. If you are consuming more than it is configured in the charging station setup, it will start reducing the power. Maybe more functionality will come later when we move automatic mode, because that's the plan, to move the automatic mode inside the GX device. Maybe we will later be able to have charging based on the tariffs for electricity, even for this kind of installation. But for now, that's missing, but we have it on our list. Then the next system type is with EV charging station connected directly to the grid, but also PV inverter is added. By doing so, you can have automatic mode. The charging station will charge with the excess power that the PV inverter is pushing into the grid. So only that amount will be used for charging. Again, if you are producing less than the minimum current, the charging station will stop. And the last configuration, this is the most complex. Of course, this in this diagram, it's simplified. You can have 3-phase, you can have both PV inverter or PV panels DC coupled. So you can have multiple configurations like this, but this is the simplified version. And by doing so, you can have all the functionalities from before, but the charging station can also stop based on state of charge of the backup battery. And this system can also switch to off-grid mode, so you can see it the same, but without the grid. It can be used for off-grid or with a generator, and it gives all the functionality that we've discussed before. Questions here?
I've just asked Jonathan if he had to elaborate on his earlier question. Jonathan, are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
I would like to create electrical boats, and I would like to charge with multiplus or quattro, 1-phase or 3-phase. And it's not possible to communicate with a heavy station because it's not possible to equilibrate the currents. If you have 22 kilowatts, 7.4 kilowatts, and 11 kilowatts, I would like to adjust automatically for charge boats and trailer.
It's still unclear for me. So what would you like to configure on the multiplus side?
Multiplus is on trailer, on boats. It's not before EV station. It's after EV station.
Maybe we leave it to the end.
Because it's a boat, and the boat, it's necessary to charge because it's an electrical boat.
Okay. It's electrical boat, and you want to use
Yes.
the charging station between. So you are using the boat as a vehicle.
Yes.
Okay.
And the trailer is the same because it's autonomous trailer and it's necessary to charge. It's possible because we adjust Servo GX manually. And I want to create an automatic system to basculate an EV charging station to equilibrate charge.
I understand. It is not possible now, but we might give you a solution. You can write me an email and we might find a solution for this. Yep. Any other question, Guy?
Lots of questions are going to be answered, I know, later in the presentation.
So nothing for the system types?
Yes, there is system mode 3, so the previous system 3 mode, working now with 2 EV charging stations?
Yep, it can work with 2 EV charging stations. Both of them will start at the same time. There is no communication yet between them. We are planning to add some kind of load balancing between the charging station, but we don't have it yet. If you have enough power, both charging stations will start charging, and probably same amount of power will be used by both of them.
Another question from Paul asking, he has lots of power outages in South Africa called load shedding.
Yep.
Can the EV charging station be tied into the essential load of the inverter? If the EV charging station is set to charge at 7 kilowatts, but the inverter is only 5 kVA, will the EV charging station be able to adjust to match how much kVA is available in the inverter with the home loads being used
So when the charging station is connected in a system where there is a multiplus as well, or a quattro, it's getting alarms or notifications from overload of the inverter. So when the charging station received an overload message, it will immediately reduce the current. That should protect your installation.
I think that's
Okay, let's move on. Extra settings over Modbus TCP. If you go on our website and search for the EV charging station, you can download the Modbus TCP register list. It looks like what's in this picture, in this table here. We have some extra settings that can be configured. I was telling you before about those 500 watts that the charging station is using for still charging the backup battery when the priority is on the vehicle. For example, if you look, this is the parameter here. So it's 5081. It's just an example. By modifying this parameter to 2 kilowatt, for example, the power will be shared between the vehicle and the battery, and the backup battery will be charged with 2 kilowatt and the charging station with the rest. This is just one example. There are so many parameters in, just download it. And again, there are lots of very skilled users on the community. If you don't know how to do it, ask in there and I'm sure they will answer or give you some help.
great Modbus register. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other questions regarding Modbus? We are not offering support. If you are playing with these values and then asking for help why your system is not behaving correctly, probably because you've changed something you shouldn't. You can always restore it to default if you want. Make sure you know exactly what you are doing when you are playing with Modbus TCP. Nothing can go so wrong that you're going to destroy something, but maybe the EV charging station is not going to work correctly. Maybe the system is not charging the backup battery as you want. You can do so many things in there.
So that's a question for you.
Sorry?
So if we go back to system 4 for a second in your previous slides, the question, is it not possible to charge with excess solar without a meter? Shouldn't it be possible with the data from the multiplus?
Yes, it should, but we don't know if you have any other consumer before the multiplus. That's why we've decided not to do it. Without having the information exactly how much power goes into the grid, we've decided not to do it. That's the reason why.
Yeah.
Any other question?
No, I think you can move forward. That's good.
How can you sell more charging stations? What are the advantages compared with the others? The first one, in my opinion, is the ecosystem that the EV charging station will be part of. All the advantages that we've discussed before are missing for other brands. Having the possibility to control it in so many ways, to monitor it in so many ways, gives lots of sales advantages. Then the system is open, so you can configure it as you want because of that Modbus TCP register list. All the extra functionalities that we have and some other brands don't, like changing the current. Most of the charging stations are very simple, and there are no functionalities like changing the current or limiting for overload or, I don't know, controlling the charging station over Bluetooth with an app. Most of them are missing. All these functionalities are coming with a very low price. Initially, the price was higher when we were not producing a lot, but now the production capabilities are huge and the price is very low compared with other brands. Then we have 5 years warranty. This is another advantage. I'm not sure how many charging stations are sold with 5 years warranty. And then you have the service and support that you are receiving for most of the Victron products, and other brands are not capable of doing the same. These are the advantages. Any others that you are thinking of?
You mentioned it with the ecosystem, but it's the integrations. I think that's the biggest one for me, not just the ecosystem and integrations, but the community that supports that as well. Lots of people writing software and apps, plugins to their Node-RED dashboards and their Grafana dashboards. We have this amazing platform where you can put things and connect things. If you're a commercial operator and you're interested in having a network or a fleet of these, then through our VRM platform, you can get a lot of control. There's a lot of software that's ready to go, very robust and well tested through the Victron system that extends further.
Questions?
Yeah, so there's a question about off-grid. Was one of your system examples off-grid? People are asking how that works,
but
about off-grid.
the system number 4 can be easily switched to off-grid mode. and the charging station still works. You can still charge in automatic mode. But when the system goes to off-grid, instead of charging with the excess power that goes to the grid, that's not possible anymore. So the algorithm, it's a bit different. It's looking at the PV power, it's looking at the battery SOC and the battery consumption. Based on these values, it will increase or decrease the charging power or current. But
Yes.
the answer is yes, you can use it.
I have another question here. Is it possible to use the EV charging station in off-grid plant with EV charging station installed on the AC out of the Multi+2? The system would use it's according to the maximum available. You've already answered that.
We are working on the new design of the EV charging station. Next year should be available. What's added compared with the current version? Actually, I have the PCB here with me. We have internal RCD compared with the previous version. That's a huge advantage. It's going to increase the price a bit, but it was requested, and in some countries, it's mandatory for the charging station to have internal RCD. For the current version, it is specified in the datasheet and manual that external RCD might be required depending on the country. For this one, it will be included. Then we have Ethernet port. Again, there were complaints that sometimes the Wi-Fi is not good enough. So it would be better to have Ethernet. Yes, you can have Ethernet. But remember, there are also disadvantages if you have the charging station installed somewhere externally in a public place. Remember that if somebody opens the charging station and connects the Ethernet cable, it can have access directly to your house or office, wherever. So make sure that the system is properly prepared for something like this. Then we have relay on each phase. You can see them in the picture or on my camera. We have relays for ground and all three phases. The plan is to do switching from one phase to three phase if the power available is not enough for charging directly to three phase. This is more for automatic mode. You can start charging with 6 amps single phase, about 1.4 kilowatt. When the sun goes up and you have enough PV power, it will switch to three-phase mode. One mention here, the switching is not going to happen while charging. The charging process will be stopped. The system will switch to three-phase mode and restart again. This is not because of us. This is how the vehicles are expecting this. So most of the vehicles are not. For most of the vehicle, it's impossible to switch while charging. Then we have a metering IC, a certified meter inside, can be used to invoice the charging sessions. In order to do that, you have to make sure that the values the charging station is reporting are correct. On the current version, we are only measuring the current and the power is just an approximation. We don't know anything about the voltage or the power factor. So those values might be wrong. For the new version, the measurements will be correct and precise. Then we are also adding a motor for locking the cable. For the version that we are selling, as it was designed for home installation, then it was not necessary. Nobody's stealing the cable from your garage. But since we are moving to, to covering public installations as well, this is going to be needed. It will add some costs. I'm not sure if it's going to be a standard installation for all the charging station or we will sell it as an accessory. I don't know. Maybe you can say, how do you prefer on the comments here? I have no idea if we should leave it as a standard or have it as an accessory. More complicated for buying the right product, more complicated for us to deliver multiple parts. I'm not sure. Then intrusion detection, I told you that in UK this is mandatory, so this will be integrated into the new version. For the current version, we have it as an accessory. We have to discuss with the distributor or sales managers from UK to help you with one of these sensors. They have them in stock. This new version will be prepared for V2G, for vehicle to grid. A few words about this. There are not so many vehicles capable of V2G. There are vehicles that can do vehicle to load, not V2G. There are only 2 or 3 brands that can handle this. For now, it's not very clear. There is not a standard thing for both V2G and V2L. We are prepared for it, but it's going to be probably an accessory that you can add it later. And another important thing, we are prepared for US market or for markets that are not running on 230 volts. The current version, the big contactor was powered directly from AC input of the charging station through a relay. On this version, the internal relays are powered from the power supply inside the charging station. The power supply will deliver 12 volts necessary no matter what input voltage is. If I remember correctly, the voltage is between 100 and 240 volts. The voltage range is 270 volts. I don't see any issues to have it available for all these countries. Of course, we need certifications and all the rest, but that's coming later.
Can the current EV charging stations handle RFIDs?
No, we thought about adding that, but again, the reason of removing RFID, if you look at the first videos with the charging station, you can see on the front of the charging station, it was displaying RFID, but we've removed it because of cost reasons. For home installation, RFID is not necessary. On the second version, it will be there. It's going to be NFC actually.
Yeah, so there'll be a more expensive model, let's say, and then they'll have extra features.
Yes.
There is more.
Yeah, please.
Is the NFC going to be open, working with any phone?
I'm not sure yet.
Sorry.
Please.
No, go, please.
I'm not sure. We have to start testing it. For now, we are just adding components. There is not a lot of work on the software side. We've tested the basic functionality to have the same functionality as the current version. That's it. All the new things that are coming. We've tested Ethernet and all the rest, but NFC was not part of initial test. We have it in there and that's it. The software is not prepared for that yet. The current software. Until when it will be launched, of course, we will have more information.
Yeah, so two nice bits of feedback. One, saying, can't thank you enough for providing an open ecosystem to work with. They've learned from another provider that having an unreliable cloud API without a local API access is really bad from their point of view. So they really appreciate that. And someone else saying, thanks for the amazing platform.
Yeah.
And really enjoy the energy that we bring to it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
In system 3, is it possible to start automatic loading when there's not enough sun power, i.e. the sun excess 800 watts, but the minimum EV charging is 1600 watts? Could it start charging early?
Can you repeat?
So if there's not enough surplus sun, if they're only got 800 watts of surplus, but the minimum charging from the EV is 6 amps, could it start automatically or not? The answer is no. The minimum's the minimum.
Minimum is the minimum. You can still modify these values. If you look into the Modbus TCP list, you can still modify those values, but not with the default configuration.
Is there any certifications done by external providers like TUV in Germany? Has the station been tested or verified with anything we've got external?
No, the only certifications that we have are displayed on our webpage.
Kiva is available.
Sorry, Bob?
The certification from Kiva is available.
Yeah, the certification from Kiva is available, yes. But Bob, if you know that we need something else for Germany, yeah, tell me.
Not in the present situation.
Okay. Anything else, Bob?
Is there more to present? Or
Let's move forward. We can take all the questions.
We're all a little over time already.
Yeah. On the software side, there is a big update that is coming. You can see a preview here on the screen. Maybe I'll stop the presentation and I can give you a preview from. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so your screen's still being shared, Lucian. If you want to stop
this is what I want.
Fine. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
This is a system that we will connect. Actually, it's a simulator. We will simulate different power consumptions. Something important. I'm not sure if you are aware. Since the update 1.29, you can access the web page of the charging station remotely. You just have to go to the device list, expand the charging station, and you have a button here that is called Control Panel. And it's doing a proxy relay to the charging station, to the web page of the charging station. And now you can see the web page of the charging station. Of course, this one is going to have the new graphical user interface that will be released soon. And it's looking like this. Actually, we are seeing now the initial setup. You can select the country. So we're going to go to Germany. Bob, this is for you. Here you have the Wi-Fi configuration. We're going to skip it. The admin password. the default one. We are not going to change it. For Germany, it starts with 16 amps. And also for Germany, you're not going to be able to change it from the main menu anymore. So if you start with 16 amps, it's going to stay like this. If you want to restore it to 32, for example, if the grid provider allows you to do more than 16 amps, then you have to restore the charging station to default values and then modify to, I don't know, whatever you have available, 25, 32, whatever. Yeah. So this is the initial setup with all the country codes and with the new graphical user interface. The charging station is now restarting. We are trying to make it look more like the new graphical user interface for the GX devices. As you can see, we have themes, dark mode and light mode. I prefer dark, but I don't know about you. The menu will be on the left side. In the middle, this is the main dashboard with the charging station, with all the session times, costs, and so on. There should be another dashboard available, but that's only when the charging station can get data from the GX device. If you go to GX device, the IP address should be 1.29. Let's enable communication with the GX. There was a question earlier about the whitelist. So here it is. So you can enable, it was somebody earlier asking about multiple GX devices in the same network seeing the charging station. So if you don't want to see them on all the GX devices, enable whitelist, add the IP address of your GX device that still wants to get data from the charging station. Press save. I'm going to disable it just to continue our tests. So I have the IP address. I'm going to save it. And now if we go back to the dashboard, we have two icons. This is the charging icon. This is the dashboard that shows the rest of the systems like battery, solar, grids, and all the rest, including the charging station. So you can see both. Now our software developer responsible for the software for the EVCS, Nikolai, should be here somewhere. Nikolai, can you help me simulating the vehicle is connected? Let's see. So we should see the state changing from disconnected. Yes. So now the vehicle appears. We have a green cable showing that the power is flowing from the charging station to the vehicle. And you can see the power. We can switch to automatic mode. And it's going to look a bit different. The color of the cable will be yellow. Now, can you help me with disconnecting the vehicle? I'm going to press stop. And the vehicle should leave. We have some nice animation for the new graphical user interface. So these are the main things, the main update that it's coming. Also on the version with screen, we don't have animations, but we have static images showing exactly same pictures with the vehicle connected, disconnected, and so on. Another important update that was requested many times. It's here for the charger. We have two types of calibrations for the power. So you have calibration for all the currents from 6 to 32. We can put a calibration factor from 0.6 to 1.4. So it will alter the value by multiplying the calculated value with 0.6 or values up to. Or we can have a calibration table. This will be in the new version. For each charging current in steps of 2, you can have different calibration values. For example, for 8 amps, you can have 1.3. For 10 amps, we can have 0.8 and so on. So that depends on the vehicle you are charging and the power factor for that vehicle for each current. That's for old vehicles mostly. The new ones are forced to have the power factor value to be 1. But yeah, it was requested and it is added here.
Is there been any changes to the visualization of the EV charging station, whether it's connected to the AC input versus the AC output?
You are talking about this interface. Why? Because if you look at the new design of the graphical user interface for the GX device, the loads are always using the same tile on the right side. The solar is always in the same position and so on. We are trying to keep the visualization, to keep it as simple as possible, because if we are starting to move tiles from one side to the other, then the question is, what if you have one charging station on the input and one on the output side? You have to display them both. And especially if you have a small screen, it's going to be complicated.
Does the session cost take into account dynamic pricing?
Not yet. The charging station is not reading the dynamic pricing. We are planning to move the automatic mode into the GX device. By doing so, we have access to all the data that the GX is already receiving, like weather prediction and prices for electricity and so on. So the charging sessions can become smarter, and you can use all the available information to charge using the lowest cost possible. You can still do it now. You can create your own flow in Node-RED or something like this, but requires some work. I saw some nice implementations on our community portal for this.
There's a question here saying if we use the Acrano, is there any animation? But I think it's the same regardless of the GX device that you use.
So what you're seeing here is different than the animation on the Acrano. This stays inside the charging station, and it will be displayed on the web page of the charging station and on the screen of the charging station. Acrano will show the charging station as a small tile, giving you the basic details like session time, session cost, current charging power, and so on, but not the animation with the vehicle connecting or disconnecting.
What happens if there's multiple EV charging stations in the system?
Each one will display if the vehicle is connected or not. So
because this screen is specific to each EV charging station.
We are connected now to the web page of the charging station.
Yeah.
We are doing this through the GX device, but this interface is not GX related.
It looks familiar to the GX, but it's not.
Similar with the new graphical user interface of the GX, but it doesn't have anything to do with it. All these animations are staying inside the EVCS. And you can see by connecting to the web page of the charging station. It will be released pretty soon, probably 2 weeks. We are very close to releasing the new interface.
Will there be a beta before the public release?
Yeah. We have a testing group that is testing this, but if there are users willing to do something about testing the beta version, maybe I can create
a category on the community or something.
Let's create a category on the community, and I can install on the systems the beta version.
Okay.
What's your opinion? Do you like it? Do you want something else? Something more? I don't see all the questions, but yeah.
Looks good.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not too power hungry.
Head to the car?
No, the graphical user interface is not affecting the power consumption of the EV charging station. The charging station consumes something like 2 or 3 watts. So the consumption is going to be the same with the new interface or without.
Does the charging calibration table influence or manipulate the charging invoice charging costs?
Yes, as I told you, the value measured, the value displayed for power, it's an approximation. You can have differences between reality and what the charging station is displaying because we don't know the voltage, we don't know the power factor. There is no real meter inside the charging station. If you are modifying the calibration values, instead of displaying that you are charging with 3 kilowatt, you can display that you are charging with 5. That's possible.
There's a clarification. They weren't worried about the electricity consumption, but they're worried about the responsiveness of the display with the new user interface.
And it responds like this. It's very fast. So as you can see, there is no delay. I'm not connected to a fake charging station. I'm connected to a real one, as you can see. And on the LCD, the LCD runs its own software inside. It has its own firmware. Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't have any pictures with me here, but the default theme for the screen is going to be black because we received lots of complaints that the screen is too visible during the night.
Also complains the same.
The default screen is going to be black, the default theme.
Can the price setting be changed to accommodate 3 decimal places? At the moment, it's $9.5 in the Europe. Okay.
Yeah. So what's the question? Sorry, because we have 2 decimals for price.
They want 3.
You want 3? Yeah, we can.
A fraction of a cent.
Can add 3 decimals.
Nice comment from Paul saying you're one of the most helpful and professional sales managers. He wants to know if there's any webinars coming up which dive deeper into Fronius AC coupling Victron. Not that I know of planned.
There's nothing planned, but we can organize something together with Fronius. That would be nice. Thank you for saying that. I'm one of the most. I'm not the only one. All my colleagues are very technical. I'm helping with this part because it's my project.
It is nice to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, so let's continue with the question. For me, I said it at the beginning that we have the apps for watches. I'm going to say it again. It's also my project. If you go on the community, do you know where that area is where we are displaying the beta things?
Must be, no, I don't know exactly, in modifications or in the beta testing. So you'd have to find it because these areas are both hidden by default. So they're not available to all users. So you have to find them in the first place. So then to find them, you select the categories menu up the top left. You log in with a private browsing window, Lucian. So you're a normal user. You're logged in now. You're going to see it. So you have to make a private one.
How it's called link.
Yeah, exactly. And then let's see if we can find it.
Community.
Yeah. So if you click the categories,
If we click the categories, I don't
no,
see.
see, it's there. It's going to be hidden. Right? Beta testing is down the bottom for VRM. I have to fix that. It shouldn't be there. If you go back up to the top for a second, on the leftmost side, you'll see categories with a pull down menu. There you can see modifications. If you scroll down, it's hidden.
Okay.
You see that? Yeah.
Okay.
There's modifications where you should be able to find some things.
There
If it's not also there, tap again, then check the beta testing section.
In here, we should
Go back up to the top again. There it is, further down.
I saw it. Yeah. So we have VRM app for Apple Watches. And we have a link here, so you can join the beta testing for Apple Watches. It looks like this. You can see your system, and you can even stop the EV charging station session. And we have a version for Google OS devices as well. So that's Samsung and so many others. Yeah, the application looks the same. You have same functionality. You can see the main interface shows grid, battery level, load, PV production, and EVCS consumption. There is another screen that shows the temperature sensors, and there is another screen showing the EV tile where you can stop the session. For Garmin, it was already released. It's public, so you can download it from Garmin App Store. Sorry. Displaying, I see a question, displaying EV SOC on the VRM would be nice, but it's impossible because we're not getting that information, unfortunately. The communication protocol between the charging station and the vehicle does not contain any information about EV SOC. I know it would be nice. You can even do lots of things, telling the charging station to charge your vehicle up to 80% and then stop, but we don't have. Any other questions?
Yes. In VRM, I notice there's a new tab if you have an EV charger on the dashboard page, and it shows the kilowatt hours that went into the EV. Can it be displayed so that if it comes from the solar, from the battery, or from the grid, the same as the solar tab?
So they want to know the energy that went into the EV battery. What was the source of that energy? Is that correct?
Correct. That's the question. That's the feature request.
Okay. I will discuss with VRM team and see if we can do it.
Is it possible for some way for somebody to pay somebody for using their EV charger? Is there any situation or solution?
That's more related with OCPP and integration with external payment platforms. On the current version, that's not going to be possible because one, we don't have OCPP, and two, the energy measured or the power measured is not precise. You need a certified meter for invoicing that energy charged. So my answer is going to be no for this version. For the next one, probably yes.
Andre asks, it's looking great. He's trying to test the remote connection, but it says it's not able to connect. He's receiving an error message saying, error, remote installation does not seem to have a running service. What should he do? Or is there anything else that's required?
Make sure the charging station is online. Look at the last update of the charging station. Maybe it's not connected anymore. It should work. So make sure that both GX device and the charging station are updated and it should work.
I'd say if you're still having issues, go to the community and create a new posting using the EV charging station or EVCS tag. Then you can look at it.
I see somebody saying something about EVCCIO, projects like EVCCIO. We are compatible already with EVCCIO. It's integrated. Our charging station is already integrated into their platform. Yeah, all love to EVCCIO. Okay.
Another question. Will the internal RCD be physical or electronic?
It's a physical electronical one. So yeah, it's visible. You can see it. It will be wrapped around the cables. For all three phases, it's going to be like a ring. I don't have one nearby, but maybe I can search for a picture. Just a second. I sure have one somewhere. You can ask some others question until I find the right pictures.
At least there are a lot of comments about the vehicle to something in the future. So vehicle to grid,
Yeah.
vehicle to load, vehicle to home.
Yeah.
It seems that this topic is quite interesting, but also quite difficult to understand what you can do and what you cannot do.
Depends on the vehicle, basically. So we don't know. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So this is the measuring part of the RCD. And it's wired, it's connected somewhere in here. And this is doing the measurements. So this is the new PCB installed in the EVCS, the one without screen. This is how it looks.
Does it work on a 3-phase delta grid?
I can't answer. From the charging station perspective, yeah, it should work. But I'm not sure if the vehicles are able to charge in that configuration. I don't know too many things about the delta configurations. So yeah, maybe we can try. I have no idea.
Anything for the US market in 220 volt, 60 hertz.
Even the current version can work. And I think there are some experiments already for US. I know from my US colleagues that it was tested and it's working. The only thing it's powering the contactor from 2 phases instead of phase neutral, because the coil of the contactor is 230 volts. It's designed for 230 volts. So you either change that contactor inside and power it between neutral and 1 phase, or you power that contactor from both phases and it should work. But again, it's a DIY thing and they either can do it, but no support from our side, or they can wait for the new version.
Lucian, can we arrange a demo of the EV charging station in VRM? Not right now during the webinar, but for later to be available for customers to see some options. We have it in Victron Connect, of course, but that's not the visualization in VRM.
But there should be something capable of doing multi-session and things like this. It should accept multiple connections and each one changing some parameters and so on.
We can do something quite basic to begin with, but if you want full featured, that's a bit of a different equation. How far we go with it is a different story.
Yeah, we can do something, but without having all the functionality they wanted to use it during the presentation with customers. It would be nice to have all the functionality to start, stop, and have some kind of emulator behind disconnecting the vehicle and so on. Or maybe we can do something that runs in a loop and show all the, yeah, that might be an idea.
Think about it. It's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea to have something to show.
Yeah. Will the recording of this session be made available later? Yes. We are recording it.
Yes.
Will the VRM be compatible with Garmin Watch in future? It is already. So go to the store and you can download it already.
Is it possible for profiles to be set through NFC? So if they use this card, then they can use this profile. If they use this card, then they use these settings.
We are talking about new version and software functionality on the new version. Probably yes. As I said, we didn't start working on the software for the NFC part. But it's good like an idea. So NFC profiles. Yeah. Like for every authenticated user to have different power available, something like this.
We have 2 electric cars. They can take different profiles, and each person has their own.
Yes. Anything else? We said 1 hour and we are reaching 2.
I think that's right. Still lots of questions coming in. I suppose if the questions haven't been answered yet, please copy them now and then make a post on the Victron community and we can get through them all then. I think that's probably a good way to finish off. Thank you, Lucian. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all for being part.
Yeah.
And, see you next time.
Thank you all. Thanks everyone for staying longer and for the lovely feedback.